Welcome to day 16 of revising previous year question paper for UPSC 2027. Today I will cover GS2, the entire paper of the year 2024. Let's get started. Question 1. Question 1. Examine the needs for electoral reforms as suggested by various committees with a particular reference to one nation, one election principle. Electoral reforms are essential to preserve democratic integrity, prevent policy paralysis, and control campaign finance. High-level committees, example, Law Commission 170th to and 170, 255, 255th reports, Dinesh Goswami Committee, have consistently advocated systemic electoral restructuring. This is the flow diagram, a need for electoral reforms and one nation, one election. Look, before I continue, I want to tell you that whenever you see like these kind of things in your answer, for example, Dinesh Goswami Committee, it is related to this. So take a note in some separate sheet or copy or whatever you want. So that way you will get aware of all the committees, important committees and their reports. Okay, so need for electoral reforms and one nation, one election. Fiscal prudence. Continuous election cycles drain public funds. Synchronized polls drastically cut administrative and security deployment cost. Governance continuity. Frequent application of the model code of conduct halts developmental policy execution. One nation, one election ensures uninterrupted governance. Check on populism. Shifting focus from short-term electoral promises to long-term structural policy making. Core reform recommendations. The Ramnath Kovind High Level Committee recommended phased constitutional amendments, Article 83, 172 to align Lok Sabha and state assemblies paired with single common voter list. Challenges. Requires complex constitutional consensus and risks overshadowing local regional issues with national narrative. Achieving synchronized election alongside curbing money power, Law Commission will strengthen Indian federal democracy and governance efficiency. Look guys, there are countless videos on YouTube in which people will tell you like these are the important themes, this is important topics, go through this, go through that. But let me tell you one thing, that will not gonna work. Why? Because those are shortcuts. The themes, everything will work only when you go through the previous year question paper on your own, by your own. You have to grind, otherwise it will be of no use. The shortcuts will not gonna take you or lead you anywhere. So go through the previous year question paper at least once so that your mind will be familiar with what kind of things they are asking. Of course, you cannot retain everything you read or you read, but your brain will get familiar with the information, right? And that way you will, you can say, you will be ahead of your competitors. Okay, question 2. So the thing is, you need to grind, that is it. Those shortcuts will not gonna work. For example, if someone give you like 100 themes, 200 themes, 50 themes, whatever the number, and you think like I will go through these themes only, that first thing, it is not in the chronology, number one. Number two, it is like a shortcut. You can miss and you will miss what is between the lines or between those themes. Anyway, question 2. Explain and distinguish between lok adalats and arbitration tribunals, whether they entertain civil as well as criminal cases. Look, this is a static question, and that is what I am talking. If you watched my lecture, not lecture actually, if you watch the video of 2025, then in that paper also you have like 3 to 4 static questions. And if you go through that, if you memorize those questions, you will definitely have command over static. You can solve questions on prelims, and these questions can be repeated. So that is why you need to go through it. You cannot just stay in the delusion that because UPSC will not gonna repeat the question, so we will not go through those questions. Alternative dispute resolution ADR mechanism reduces judicial pendency, Lok Adalats under the Legal Service Authority Act 1987 and the arbitration tribunals under the Arbitration Conciliation Act 1996 serve distinct dispute resolution roles. Distinction between Lok Adalats and arbitration tribunals. Parameter Lok Adalat arbitration tribunals. Statutory basis Legal Service Authority Act 1987, Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. Nature and fee conciliatory and informal, no court fee charged. Adjudicative private forum, fee paid by parties. Binding force. Award is non-appealable civil court decree. Award is enforceable, appealable on limited grounds. Can you see? If you go through this, you have a potential prelims question out of, you can have it. A question on prelims, like if they ask something on Lok Adalats or on these tribunals, you have the required information. So you can tackle that question. That is the advantage of this. Jurisdiction over civil and criminal cases. Civil cases. Both forums entertain civil disputes, including property, contractual, commercial, and matrimonial matters. Criminal cases. Lok Adalats entertain only compoundable criminal offences. Example, minor assault. Section 138 NI Act. Arbitration tribunals cannot adjudicate criminal cases as criminal matters are non-arbitrable offences against the state. Booz Allen and Hamilton case. Strengthening both ADR frameworks relieves court backlogs while upholding access to swift, affordable justice. Article 39A. In this single answer, you will have like many like unlimited information, not unlimited, but too much information, which can potentially solve like 2 to 3 questions of, if they ask something from this topic, 2 to 5 questions in prelims if they asked on this topic. The growth of cabinet system has practically resulted in the marginalization of parliamentary supremacy. Elucidate. While the Constitution establishes a parliamentary executive accountable to the legislature, Article 75(3), the expansion of the cabinet system has led scholars to describe Indian governance as prime ministerial or cabinet government. Factors marginalizing parliamentary supremacy. Anti-defection law, 10th schedule, enforces strict party whips, curbing backbenchers' freedom to debate or vote independently on legislation. Executive control over agenda. The cabinet dictates parliamentary sessions, legislative drafting, and debate durations, frequently passing bills without adequate committee scrutiny. Promulgation of ordinances, bypassing legislative deliberation via frequent ordinance issuance. Article 123 dilutes lawmaking supremacy. DC Wadhwa case. Delegated legislation. Extensive rulemaking authority is retained by executive ministries, shifting real legislative powers away from the floor of the House. Restoring parliamentary oversight requires strengthening departmentally related standing committees, enforcing mandatory debate hours, and granting private members greater legislative autonomy. Second ARC report. The duty of the Comptroller and Auditor General is not merely to ensure the legality of expenditure, but also its propriety. Comment. Again, a static topic. The Comptroller and Auditor General CAG is the guardian of the public exchequer under Article 148, ensuring administrative accountability to Parliament through rigorous financial audits. Dual audit functions of CAG. Audit of legality, regulatory audit. CAG verifies whether the funds sanctioned by the Parliament were spent strictly in accordance with statutory rules, appropriation limits, and financial rules. Audit of propriety, wisdom, and value goes beyond formal rules to evaluate whether public money was expended with wisdom, faithfulness, economy, and public interest. Examines cases of wasteful expenditure, financial imprudence, or systemic inefficiency, even if technically legal. Example 2G spectrum and coal block allocation reports. Administrative significance. Propriety audits enforce the highest standard of financial integrity in governance, preventing official extravagance and corporate favoritism. By combining legality with propriety audits, CAG acts as a vital pillar of financial democracy, safeguarding taxpayers' money and ensuring executive accountability. Analyze the role of local bodies in providing good governance at local level and bring out the pros and cons, merging the rural local bodies with the urban local bodies. The 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts institutionalized grassroots democracy, enabling local bodies to function as unit of self-government. Article 243G and 243W to deliver participatory governance. Roles of local bodies in good governance, subsidiarity and inclusivity. Ensures decentralized decision making, direct accountability, Gram Sabhas, and social inclusion through mandatory reservations for women, SCs, and STs. Efficient service delivery. Tailors local health, sanitation, primary education, and infrastructure to ground realities. Merging rural and urban PRIs and ULBs, local bodies in peri-urban belts. Merits, demerits. Integrated regional planning for census towns and pre-urban fringes. Demerit, bureaucratic dilution of traditional rural Gram Sabha autonomy. Merit, unified resource allocation and shared physical infrastructure. Disproportionate urban taxation burdens on low-income agrarian populations. Strengthening district planning committees. Article 243 ZD provides a balanced framework to harmonize rural-urban developmental transitions without compromising local democratic autonomy. Public charitable trusts have the potential to make India's development more inclusive as they relate to certain vital public issues. Comment. Public charitable trusts form a core component of India's civil society, operating at the intersection of social welfare, constitutional guarantees, Article 21, and last mile service delivery to drive inclusive growth. Public trust, targeted intervention, fill administrative gaps, and all. Inclusive growth, SDG 10. Potential in driving inclusive development, addressing vital public issues. Trusts actively bridge gaps in primary healthcare, quality education, rural livelihoods, and elder care. Example, Tata Trust, Azim Premji Foundation. Targeting marginalized sections. Extend welfare benefits to remote tribal belts, disabled population, and urban slum dwellers often underserved by state machinery. Fostering grassroots innovation, act as test beds for scalable community-driven social interventions that can be later adopted by government policies. Challenges and way forward. Issues: opaque governance, compliance hurdles under the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, FCRA, and uneven regional distribution. Solution: enhancing transparency through digital reporting, regulatory streamlining, and fostering strong public trust partnerships. Second ARC: strengthening the capacity and governance of public charitable trust, help translate economic progress into equitable, inclusive development across India. Poverty and malnutrition creates a vicious cycle, adversely affecting human capital formation. What steps can be taken to break the cycle? Poverty and malnutrition form a self-reinforcing trap, as highlighted by the Global Hunger Index and NFHS 5. This intergenerational cycle severely impairs cognitive development and worker productivity, undermining human capital formation. poverty, low food intake, malnutrition, stunting, reduced productivity, and then poverty again. Impact on human capital formation. Childhood stunting and anemia reduce cognitive capacity and school performance, leading to low earning potential and persistent poverty in adulthood. Steps to break the vicious cycle or circle. Life cycle nutritional interventions. Strengthen target delivery via Poshan Abhiyan and universalize fortified food distribution under the National Food Security Act NFSA 2013. Early childhood healthcare and sanitation. Integrate clean water access, Jal Jeevan Mission and sanitization, Swachh Bharat with health interventions to prevent recurrent waterborne infections. Maternal health support, expand direct conditional cash transfers, PM Matru Vandana Yojana to ensure adequate maternal nutrition and prenatal care. Economic empowerment. Link wage employment Magnarega with self-help groups to boost rural purchasing power. Breaking this vicious cycle aligns with Sustainable Development Goals 1, 2, and 3, transforming India's demographic vulnerability into a productive demographic dividend. Question 8. The doctrine of democratic governance makes it necessary that the public perception of the integrity and commitment of civil servants becomes absolutely positive. Discuss. The doctrine of democratic governance posits that public authority drives its legitimacy from citizen trust. In a constitutional democracy, civil servants are the visible face of the state, making public trust essential for effective administration. Public integrity, high administrative credibility, voluntarily citizen compliance, and good governance. Why positive public perception matters? Policy compliance, high perception of civil service integrity fosters voluntary public cooperation with state mandates, example tax compliance, public health drives. Institutional legitimacy, reduces administrative cynicism, strengthens democratic faith, and minimizes public grievances. Effective crisis management, ensures public trust and swift community mobilization during disasters and public order emergencies. Sustaining integrity and commitment, institutional frameworks, strict enforcement of Nolan Committee principles, selflessness, integrity, objectivity, and civil service conduct rules. Administrative accountability, institutionalize public service delivery guarantees, robust whistleblower protection, and transparent digital grievance redress CP-grams as recommended by the second ARC, building a citizen-centric, ethically unassociable civil service transforms traditional state authority into accountable, responsive democratic governance. The West is fostering India as an alternative to reduce dependence on China's supply chain and as a strategic ally to counter China's political and economic dominance. Explain this statement with examples. In an era of geopolitical realignment, Western democracies actively seek to diversify global manufacturing networks away from China, positioning India as a vital economic counterweight and strategic anchor in the Indo-Pacific. China plus one strategy, supply chain diversification, India as manufacturing and strategic anchor. Supply chain alternative, China plus one strategy, supply chain resilience framework. The US, EU, and Japan actively support trade corridors like the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor and the Supply Chain Resilience Initiative. Industrial relocation. Major global corporations are expanding high-tech manufacturing hubs in India. Example, Apple iPhone assembly, semiconductor joint ventures. Strategic counterweight to China's dominance. Indo-Pacific security alignment. India's active role in the Quad US, India, Japan, Australia deters unilateral maritime expansion in critical sea lanes. Critical Technology Partnership initiatives like the US India ICET, Critical and Emerging Technology, build secure technology ecosystems in independent ecology, build secure technology ecosystem independent of Chinese telecommunication and AI works. While this trend provides immense economic opportunities, India must build world-class logistic infrastructure and ease of doing business to fully realize its potential as a global manufacturing hub. Critically analyze India's evolving diplomatic, economic, and strategic relations with the Central Asian republics, CARs, highlighting their increasing significance in regional and global geopolitics. The Central Asian republics, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, occupy a vital position in Eurasian geopolitics. India's strategic interest is driven by its Connect Central Asia policy and institutional frameworks like the India Central Asia Summit. You can see this diagram and you can make it look, the map is not accurate, right? These are just border, like look, India is like this, Pakistan is this, right? And here is the Afghanistan, Iran, like these are like the rough borders, right? You need not to be accurate. So even in your GS, if you can draw it, it will definitely gonna give you marks, because people from geography optional background will definitely gonna draw this, right? So this is the route, this INSCTC STC connectivity. This is the route, and here you have the Chabar port in Iran, and through here you will go to Afghanistan, and then you can see here it is Azerbaijan. It is not in the Caspian Sea. It is in the Azerbaijan, and thereafter in the Russia, and then you can go to Europe via Russia. So this is how, and from here Tehran you can go to Turkmenistan as well, right? So this is how you can make it. You need not to be accurate, but you can make it. And this Zaranj, Kabul, they already asked this in previous year question in UPSC. There is this Garland Road. So you can go through this map and make it in your answer if you want. Critical analysis of evolving relations, strategic and security synergy, collaboration on counter-terrorism, intelligence sharing, and regional stability in post-US Afghanistan. Defense ties include joint exercises, example, Dustlik with Uzbekistan. Synergy and resource diplomacy. Central Asia provides critical energy security resources, including Kazakh uranium imports and the proposed TAPI gas pipeline, that is TAPI. Connectivity challenges. Direct overland access is blocked by hostile Pakistani territory. India relies on sea-land route via Iran's Chabar port and the INSTC. Yeah, this is the problem. Like you cannot reach Afghanistan without the access of any other foreign country, because look, you are here, right? If you want to go like this, you need to cross the airspace of Pakistan, which they will not allow. Means they will allow, but you have to cross. But by land, you cannot go. From here, through Arabian Sea, you will reach Iran, and thereafter Chabar. From Chabar, you have to go by road. Now, Pakistan is a different case because our relations are not good with this country. But let's say India has good relations with Afghanistan, but with Iran as well. But what if in future Iran and Afghanistan, they do not share good relations? So again the road is blocked. You cannot go through Pakistan. Now Iran is blocking. They are saying that, I'm talking about hypothetical conditions, right? Now they are saying that you cannot go from our land. So there is no way to go to Afghanistan. And by air you need to come to first Dubai, and Iran again said don't use our airspace. Pakistan will say don't use our airspace. Then you have no remedy. Means you can go, but you can see, right? that you have to first come to Kuwait and then go Iran and then from Central Asia and then reach Afghanistan. It is hectic. You cannot go from there because of the terrain. You cannot go from there. So Afghanistan is landlocked and it cost us because this part, although it connects with Afghanistan, but this is not in our control. I'm talking, look, they show it is Mumbai, but it is not Mumbai, right? It is the North India, but for map, we just show it as Mumbai. What are the aims and objects? What are the aims and objects of centrally passed and enforced the Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Act 2024? Whether university, state education board examination, two are covered under the act. Enacted to curb systemic paper leaks and malpractice in recruitment test, the Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Act 2024 provides a stringent statutory framework to restore credibility, transparency, and public trust in central competitive examination. See, this act was already passed, but still we are facing paper leaks, right? Organized Paper Leaks Public Examination Act, cognizable non-bailable penalties. Aims and objectives of the act. Deterrence against organized crime. Targets organized syndicates, cheating networks, and corrupt testing agencies engaging in paper leaks, impersonation, or tampering with computer systems. Protection of candidate merit. Safeguard the career prospects of millions of sorry. Protection of candidate merit safeguards the career prospects of millions of genuine job aspirants by ensuring fair and merit-based selection processes. Institutional accountability imposes strict criminal liability, heavy monetary fines up to 1 CR, and debarment on private service providers or official complicit in unfair practices. Uniform legal standard establishes a clear legal definition for unfair means and makes offenses cognizable, non-bailable, and non-compoundable. Applicability to university state education board examination. Current scope. The Act applies specifically to examinations conducted by central authorities like UPSC, SSC, RRBs, NTA, IBPS, and central government departments. Exclusion. State education boards examination and university internal degree examination are not directly covered under the Central Act. Enabling provision. The Act serves as a model legislation. State governments can adopt or enact similar laws to cover state university, secondary education boards, and state public service commissions. Effective implementation alongside robust technological safeguards ensure that the public recruitment system uphold constitutional equity, Article 16, and administrative integrity. Right to privacy is intrinsic to life and personal liberty and is inherently protected under Article 21 of the Constitution. Explain. In this reference, discuss the law relating to DNA testing of child in the womb to establish its paternity. In the landmark judgment K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India 2017, a 9-judge Supreme Court bench unanimously declared the right to privacy as an intrinsic fundamental right protected under Article 21 of the Constitution. Privacy as an intrinsic component of Article 21. Dimensions of privacy encompasses spatial privacy, informational privacy, and personal autonomy over bodily integrity and reproductive choices. Triple test threshold. Any law restricting privacy must satisfy three conditions: legality, statutory mandate, need, legitimate state aim, and proportionality. Proportional means law relating to DNA testing of an unborn child for paternity. Presumption of legitimacy under Section 112 of the Indian Evidence Act 1872, Now Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam. Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam. They changed the name basically. Under the section 112 of the Indian Evidence Act 1872, birth during a valid marriage provides conclusive proof of legitimacy, rebuttable only by provoking lack of sexual access. Supreme Court framework on scientific proof. The Supreme Court, Aparna Ajinkya Firodia versus Ajinkya Firodia 2023 ruled that DNA testing invades personal autonomy and bodily integrity. High threshold for prenatal DNA test. Courts order DNA testing of a fetus only in exceptional circumstances where a prima facie strong case exists. Indiscriminate testing is denied to prevent stigma, protect the unborn child's welfare, and guard against coerced invasive medical procedures. Balancing scientific evidence with bodily autonomy reinforces constitutional morality, ensuring that judicial orders preserve humanity, dignity, and bodily integrity. What changes has the Union government recently introduced in the domain of center-state relations? Suggest measures to be adopted to build the trust between the center and the state and for strengthening federalism. Indian federalism, described by B.R. Ambedkar as a flexible constitutional arrangement, has seen dynamic shifts in center-state relations across financial, administrative, and legal domains. Fiscal centripetal tendency, interstate council reactivation, cooperative federalism. Recent changes in center-state relations. Fiscal restructuring, increased reliance on non-shareable cesses and surcharges, reduces the divisible tax pool available to states under finance commission transfers. Administrative friction. Disputes over the role and discretionary powers of governor in delaying state legislation alongside the expansion of central agency jurisdiction, example ED, CBI in state subjects. Legislative centralization. Enactment of overarching central frameworks on concurrent subjects, example electricity reform, cooperative sector governance, raises sub-national autonomy concern. Institutional frameworks. Creation of national development framework, example PM Gati Shakti, require aligned state planning. Measures to build trust and strengthen federalism. Reactivating interstate institution. Regularly convene the Interstate Council, Article 263, and zonal councils to build consensus before introducing policies impacting states. Punchi Commission. Governor's neutrality. Implement Sarkaria Commission recommendation to appoint non-partisan governors and fix clear timeframes for assenting to state bills. Fiscal decontamination. Rationalize cesses and surcharges into the basic GST tax structure to expand the devolved revenue pool for states. Consultative governance. Engage states through pre-legislative consultation protocols on concurrent list matters. Transitioning from confrontational friction to cooperative and competitive federalism upholds the constitutional basic structure, S.R. Bomai case, driving balanced regional development. Explain the reasons for the growth of public interest litigation in India. As a result of it, India has the Indian Supreme Court emerged as the world's most powerful judiciary. Initiated in the late 1970s by the Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer and P.N. Bhagwati, S.P. Gupta case, public interest litigation transformed the Indian Supreme Court from a traditional dispute resolution court into a constitutional tribunal for human rights. Relaxation of locus standi, PIL, growth, judicial enforcement of socio-economic rights. Reasons for the growth of PIL in India. Relaxation of locus standi enabled public spirited citizens and social organizations to approach courts on behalf of marginalized groups lacking legal access. Epistolary jurisdiction allowed judges to convert informal letters or media reports into formal writ petitions under Article 32. Expansion of Article 21 expanded the right to life to encompass clean environment. MC Mehta legal aid, Hussain Ara Khatun, and dignity, Bandhwa Mukti Morcha. Governance vacuum, addressing executive inaction or legislative delays through judicial directions. Example, Vishakha Guidelines. As the Supreme Court emerged as the world's most powerful judiciary, argument affirming unmatched power. Unbounded jurisdiction possesses wide-ranging powers under Article 32, Article 136, special leave petition, and Article 142, complete justice. Structural oversight reviews constitutional amendments via the basic structure doctrine Kesavananda Bharati, and exercises judicial review over executive and legislative actions. Critical constraints. Power is tempered by enforcement dependency on the executive, rising arrears and concern regarding judicial overreach into policy domains. Maintaining judicial restraint. Second ARC prevents encroachment on legislative and executive domains, ensuring that PIL remains an effective instrument of constitutional social justice. Discuss India as a secular state and compare with secular principle of the US Constitution. See, in 2025, they asked two questions related to US Constitution and India, the comparison, and in 2024. In 2025, they asked two questions, one of 150 words, one is 250 words, and in 24 as well, they asked the same question. So you can see it is almost a repeated question. Secularism is a basic structure feature of the Indian Constitution, S.R. Bommai case. While both India and the United States uphold religious freedom, their constitutional models stem from distinct historical and socio-cultural realities. US model, wall of separation, strict mutual exclusion, versus Indian model, principled distance, equal respect plus social reform. India as a secular state. Constitutional mandate enshrined in the preamble, 42nd Amendment, and operationalized through Articles 25 to 28, freedom of religion, and Article 14-15, non-discrimination. Principled distance rather than strict separation, the Indian state maintained equal respect for all religions, Sarva Dharma Sambhava, while retaining authority to intervene for social reform. Example, abolishing untouchability under Article 70. Comparison between India and the US. Dimensions, Indian model, US model. The First Amendment. State religion relationship. Principal distance, wall of separation. In Indian model, state can add, regulate, or reform religious institution uniformly. This question actually was asked in the previous year as well, the same question. Strict mutual exclusion, no state add to or regulation of churches. Strict mutual exclusion, no state add to or regulation of churches. Rights paradigm protects both individual and group community religious rights. Article 26, 29, 30 focuses primarily on individual freedom of exercise. Social reform scope permits affirmative action and reform of discriminatory practices within religions. Restricts state intervention in internal church affairs and customary doctrines. Unlike the rigid American separation model, India's dynamic model of secularism balances regional religious freedom with social reform, preserving unity in a pluralistic society. The Citizens Charter has been a landmark initiative in ensuring citizen-centric administration, but it is yet to reach its full potential. Identify the factors hindering the realization of its promise and suggest measures to overcome them. Introduced to institutionalize transparency, time-bound service delivery, and administrative responsiveness, the citizens Charter embodies the principle of citizen-centric governance. However, as noted by the Second Administrative Reform Commission, structural and operational gaps prevent it from achieving its full potential. Top-down formulation, lack of enforcement penalties, low awareness, service delivery gaps. Factors hindering the realization of its promise. Top-down and non-participatory design. Charters are often drafted bureaucratically without consulting end users, civil society, or frontline staff, rendering service standard unrealistic. Absence of legal teeth. Charters operates Charters operate as administrative guidelines lacking statutory enforcement or mandatory compensation for service delays. Static and outdated standards. Rare periodic reviews leave benchmark metrics misaligned with evolving public requirements and digital workflows. Weak grievance redressal integration. Inadequate linkages with robust, time bound internal grievance resolution mechanism like CPGRAMS. CPGRAMS. Low awareness. Minimal public outreach leaves citizens unaware of service commitments and escalation pathways. Measures to overcome these challenges. Statutory backing. Enact enforceable rights. Enact enforceable right to service legislation across all states, incorporating financial penalties for non-compliance by service officers. Bottom-up customization. Co-create charters with public feedback, setting realistic, measurable service delivery timelines. Second ARC. You can see like the mention of second ARC is almost in every answer, right? So you can see how important it is. So go through it, or I will upload a video of that as well someday. Third party evaluation. Conduct annual social audits and independent quality checks via civil society bodies to update charter dynamically. Digital integration. Link charters with single window service portals. Example, Sevottam framework for automated tracking. Transforming citizens' charter from passive static documents into active instruments of accountability strengthens institutional trust and upholds democratic administrative integrity. In a crucial domain like the public healthcare system, the Indian state should play a vital role to contain the adverse impact of marketization of the system. Suggest some measures through which the state can enhance the reach of public healthcare at the grassroots level. Commercialization of healthcare has escalated out of pocket expenditure, OOPE, driving millions into poverty annually. Niti Aayog under Article 47 Directive Principles and Article 21, the state has a primary constitutional duty to provide accessible, affordable primary healthcare. Impact of marketization and need for state intervention. Market-driven healthcare concentrates tertiary infrastructure in urban hubs, leading to diagnostic overutilization, inflated treatment cost, and severe geographic access disparity in rural hinterlands. Measures to enhance public healthcare at the grassroots level. Strengthening primary infrastructure. Upgrades primary healthcare centers into fully equipped Ayushman Arogya Mandirs, offering free diagnostic, maternal childcare, and essential medicines. Increasing public spending, elevate public healthcare expenditure from 1.3 to at least 2.5% of GDP as mandated by the National Health Policy 2017. Expanding telemedicine reach. Scale e-Sanjeevani portals across rural wellness centers to connect remote patients with specialist urban doctors. Ensuring essential medicine availability. Expand Jan Aushadhi Kendra to provide low-cost generic drugs, reducing outpatient financial strain. Deploying mid-level health providers. Creates dedicated cadre routes for community health officer and empower accredited social health activists with digital tools and competitive compensation. Institutional integration. Link primary healthcare networks with secondary tertiary insurance models under PMJ to ensure seamless continuum of care. Universalizing grassroots public health care restores health equity, ensuring that medical Access remains a basic constitutional right rather than an unpayable market commodity. Question 18. E-governance is not just about the routine application of digital technology in service delivery process. It is as much about multifarious interactions for ensuring transparency and accountability. In this context, evaluate the role of the interactive service model of e-governance. E-governance evolve through E-governance evolved through distinct maturity stages: information publishing, transactional processing, and two-way interaction. The interactive service model shifts governance from one-way portal broadcast to active real-time participatory communication between citizens and the state. Transactional e-government, e-gov, interactive service model, two-way engagement and live accountability. Evaluation of the interactive service model, enhancing administrative transparency. Real-time tracking. Platform enabling live tracking of applications, tenders, and welfare funds. Welfare fund disbursement. Example: direct benefit transfer via PFMS, reducing bureaucratic discretion and bribery points. Open government data. Public dashboards. Example: Magnirega, muster roll trackers expose operational data for community review. Fostering real-time accountability. Direct grievance resolution portals like CPgrams and state-level helpline dashboards allow citizens to submit complaints directly, attach proof, and rate official resolution quality. Participatory policy formulation. Frameworks like mygov.in enable two-way consultations, allowing public inputs to shape draft legislation and budget planning. Structural challenges and limitations. Digital divide, unequal broadband access, and low digital literacy among rural population risk excluding marginalized groups. Data privacy and algorithmic inertia. Automated responses without human oversight can cause bureaucratic delays in resolving complex complaints. Bridge the digital divide through common service centers and enforce robust data protection standards to transform interactive e-governance into an engine for participatory democracy. Question 19. Terrorism has become a significant threat to global peace and security. Evaluate the effectiveness of the United Nations Security Council's counter-terrorism committee and its associated bodies in addressing and mitigating this threat at the international level. Transnational terrorism threatens global stability, economic security, and state sovereignty. Formed under UNSC Resolution 1373, following the 9/11 attacks, the Counter-Terrorism Committee serves as the primary international body coordinating global counter-terrorism efforts. UNSC Resolution 1373, CTC and CTED oversight, geopolitical veto, stalemates, and enforcement gaps. You will come to know what is CETD here. Role and effectiveness of CTC and associated bodies. Establishing international norms. The CTC, supported by the Counter-Terrorism Committee Executive Directorate CTED, assists member nations in upgrading national border security, financial controls, and counter-terrorism legislation. Cutting off terror financing. Works alongside the Financial Action Task Force FATF to enforce compliance against money laundering and terror financing network under UNSC Resolution 2462. Targeted sanction regimes. The 1267 Sanction Committee designates terror operatives and organizations imposing global asset freezes, travel bans, and arms embargoes. Key bottleneck and limitation. Geopolitical veto abuse. Permanent UNSC members frequently use technical holds to delay or block terror designations driven by political interest. Absence of universal consensus. The UN has failed to adopt the Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism proposed by India in 1996 due to unresolved disagreement over defining terrorism. Emerging technological threats. CTC mechanism struggle to contain new age threats like radicalization via encrypted digital platforms, illicit drone deployments, and cryptocurrency-based terror financing. Streamline UN sanction procedures, depoliticize global terror designation, and adopt the CCIT to transform the CTC into a decisive instrument for global security. Discuss the geopolitical and geostrategic importance of Maldives for India with a focus on global trade and energy flows. Further, also discuss how this relationship affects India's maritime security and regional stability amidst international competition. Located in the central Indian Ocean, the Maldives occupies a vital position in India's sagar security and growth for all in the region. India's sagar policy, acting as a natural maritime sentinel along major Indian Ocean sea lines of communication. Again, you can make this diagram: Africa, India, Sri Lanka. This is 8-degree channel, this is 1-degree channel, 30-degree north. Geopolitical and geostrategic importance. Maritime trade and energy gateways. The Maldives straddles critical international maritime choke points, the 8-degree channel and 1.5-degree channel. Over 80% of global maritime oil trade and 50% of global container traffic transit adjacent to Maldivian waters, securing India's energy imports and trade access. Exclusive economic zone oversight. Spanning a vast ocean area, Maldivian territory provides a strategic base for monitoring maritime commercial flows across the western and central Indian Ocean. Impact on maritime security and regional stability. Combating non-traditional threats, joint maritime surveillance radar networks and hydrographic assistance with India counter piracy, illegal fishing, human trafficking and drug smuggling. Countering great power rivalry, heightened external economic footprints, example China's Belt and Road Initiative infrastructure investments, and shifting domestic politics in Male directly impact India's regional maritime posture. Institutional regional anchoring. As a key member of the Colombo Security Conclave, India and Maldives cooperate to prevent security vacuums and sustain regional balance in the Indian Ocean. By combining high-impact infrastructure projects, Greater Male Connectivity Project, with respectful diplomacy, India preserves maritime security and regional stability in the Indian Ocean. So we are done with the GS paper 2 2024.